Hi there, BookTube! My name is Christina, and today, as you already know from the title, I'm here to share with you the titles of the book that I'm most anticipating that have been already released or will be released during this spring 2021. So since I'm filming it at the beginning of April and I will probably upload it like in the midst of April or at the end of April, a lot of those are already out there. So if you're interested, go and grab the books. For me, of course, being on a book buying ban, I won't be buying anything, maybe something by my birthday, but for now, nope, no books for me. So I'm kind of window shopping here. And without further ado, let me get into the titles. I have 15 books that I'm highly anticipating. I will go in chronological order from the ones that were released at the beginning of March, getting to the ones that will be released in May. So the very first one that I have here is The Conductors by Nicole, and this is the first one in a series, I believe, that is called Murder and Magic. And this is one that really piqued my curiosity because I will just give you a snippet. I mean, it's a mystery fantasy, and what really got me was in the description on Goodreads this sentence: introducing Hattie Rhodes, a magic user and former conductor on the Underground Railroad who now solves crimes in post-Civil War Philadelphia. So it's historical, it is a mystery and a fantasy. So what not to love here? Next is again a mystery fantasy, and again it's historical, so I love this mixing, and it's called The Lost Apothecary. From what I got, it's a standalone, fingers crossed, you know, there's never enough. And this one has a very unique premise. I will read to you the first sentences, and it's: a female apothecary secretly dispenses poisons to liberate women from the men who have wronged them, setting 3 lives across centuries on a dangerous collision course. So we're following 3 different timelines, I believe, and the last one is from our days, and the first one goes at like 1791, so it's a bit of time. And we're following this trail of kind of murders, which I believe husbands have been murdered by wives, but no one never really caught them, I think. So it's a mystery and with a dash of fantasy with this interesting concept, so I would love to give it a try in the future. Next is A Trial of Sorceries by Elise Kova, and I've been eyeing books by Elise Kova for so long, but I've not read them yet, and this cover is simply beautiful. I love it. And here we are in the realm of pure fantasy, of course. It's young adult, so I hope that I still will enjoy it. And this one is about our main protagonist, who is 18 years old, and she lives kind of in the shadows of her big brother, but she wants to become a magician on her own terms, and she decides to enter this very harsh competition. And apparently she's trying to become her own person and to show everyone that she's the boss and she's able to do whatever she wants. But apparently the trial will teach her that there are greater dangers, and being the first book in a series, I believe that it will be just like the book that sets up the story. So for now I have nothing else to add to it, just that I love the cover. I know great things about the author, never read a book, but maybe this will be the one from which I will start. Next is again a young adult fantasy, and again I'm guilty. I love this cover. That's the first thing that really drew me to this book. And in this one, this is, I believe, a standalone, as always. And in this one we're following Tamsin, who is a witch, one of the most powerful witches of her generation, but she committed a sin, and so she's exiled. And on the other side we have Ren, sorry, who is a being made of magic, but she's unable to use it herself, and their fates kind of collide, and I believe that they need to help each other to obtain common kind of goal. So we will see. I don't know if it's LGBTQ+, maybe so, or maybe it will be just an amazing friendship. So I'm in for it. We have 2 female protagonists, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. Then I have again a young adult fantasy, again probably a standalone, so I'm so happy, and it's Sing Me Forgotten. And in this one we are following our main protagonist, who is able to manipulate memories when someone is singing, and so this is a quite unique ability. So her whole family, I believe, is killed, but she is saved, and she starts living in this opera house, but she has to stay hidden if she wants to stay alive. And then on the other side we have a boy who has an amazing voice, and when they meet she sees the possibility to escape from this kind of golden cage that the opera house became. And I love the idea of an opera house setting. I mean, the last one that I heard that has a similar setting was the Phantom of the Opera, so I don't know, this seems as a great potential, and I hope that it won't disappoint. Next one is again young adult and fantasy, but this time it's the start of a series with kind of a unique name. It's The Descent of the Drowned, and we're following 2 main protagonists. The first one is Roma, who is the sacred slave of a goddess. And then we're following Leviathan, who is the bastard son of an immortal tyrant. And their fates intertwine, because I believe that at the end of the day they end up saving the world or something like that, being it a young adult fantasy. But what really got my interest was that it's described as set in colonialized Indo-Persian world and inspired by pre-Islamic Arabian mythology. So this really piques my curiosity and my interest, so I hope that it will be a great read. Even being a young adult with this kind of generic premise, but I hope that it will have its own flavor and its own kind of character, and it will stand out among all the others. Next is The Gilded Girl, and it's a middle grade fantasy with a lovely premise that makes me think about The Little Princess mixed with some kind of magic, because the premise on Goodreads says that any child can spark magic, but only the elite are allowed to kindle it. Those denied access to the secrets of the kindling ritual will see their magic snuffed out before their 13th birthday. And we are following 2 girls, Itzy and Emma, in the setting of Miss Posterity's Academy for Practical Magic. One of them is a servant, and she kinda owns illegally magic, and the other one is attending the school, but she isn't good with magic, I believe, or something like that. And it's described as heartfelt, fast-paced, and utterly absorbing. A sparkling debut novel about determination, spirit, and magic of friendship. So again, 2 girls being friends, and I never have enough of that, so I hope it will be great. Being a middle grade, it probably will. Next is a fantasy kinda, more science fiction like young adult, and this one is very hyped around BookTube, and I believe for good reasons. I hope to read it soon. It's the start of a series, and it's called The Infinity Quartz. It has this very beautiful and unique cover, and in this we're following an 18 years old Nami who dies while she's going at a party, and she ends up waking up in this other world, other life kind of situation, in which she discovers that all the people are trapped because the virtual assistant that everyone is using during their daily life actually has overtaken this kind of realm, and she wants to basically destroy humanity, I believe. So that's a premise. and I have very high hopes and I hope that I will enjoy this book. I'm not that huge at reading science fiction, but this sounds like right up my alley. Plus, being young adult, usually it's an easier version of science fiction, so it's more approachable and I hope to enjoy it. Next is middle grade fantasy, mythology inspired, and it really makes me think about Percy Jackson but with northern mythology, and it's called The Last Shadow Warrior, and we're following a 12-year-old Abby Beckett, who is one of the Aesirs, meaning that she's an elite Viking warrior, and she has trained her whole life to become a warrior, except their enemies are gone and have been gone for ages, and so now the High Council is thinking to disband the Aesirs, and so now she has no purpose at all, but something happens, she needs to get into hiding, so she ends up in Minnesota going at a high school, and it's just a whole adventure with North mythology set in the US, so I don't know, it seems funny and very Percy Jackson-like to me, plus I love this cover, it's beautiful, so what not to like. Next is a young adult fantasy starting of a series that's been around BookTube for a lot of time. It's been postponed in last year, I believe, and it's Witches Steeped in Gold, and we're following two different kind of witches. We're following one of them who is in prison and she's expecting like her imprisonment period to be over, and the other one is the daughter of the queen, and they are kind of sworn enemies, but they end up getting into this alliance in between them to take down a mutual threat. So this has an amazing premise, and the cover is beautiful, very dark, very strange and very beautiful. So I hope that the content will be interesting and not too young adulty, but more like towards the fantasy aspect of it, so less drama, more fantasy please. So let's hope for that. Then I have fantasy adult mythology retelling, and it's Ariadne, and this is of course retelling of Ariadne, and the reason why I picked it up, first of all because I love mythology retellings, and then because at the end of the description it says Ariadne gives a voice to the forgotten women of one of the most famous Greek myths and speaks to their strength in the face of angry, petulant gods. Beautifully written and completely immersive. This is an exceptional debut novel. So it's a debut novel with an amazing concept, and I hope that I will love it because I enjoyed very much Circe, and this has a similar vibe in my opinion, even if it's not from the same author. So finger crossed, I will like this one too. Next is a science fiction young adult. It's called The Ones We're Meant to Find, and this is a standalone, and I will just read to you the shortest description at the beginning of a Goodreads synopsis. One of the most twisty, surprising, engaging page-turner YAs you'll read this year. We Were Liars meets Black Mirror with a dash of Studio Ghibli. I mean, what? I want it. I want to read it. This cover is so beautiful, and it's about C, who has been trapped on an abandoned island for 3 years without any recollection of how she arrived there, and she just knows that somewhere out there she has a sister and she wants to find her. So it's about sisterly bond, and I hope that I will love it because it seems amazing. It's also a mystery thriller, so everything is in this book. Potentially it's a bomb. I hope that it will be. Next is a young adult and a contemporary one, so I believe that it will be a romance-like story, but we're following, it's called Made in Korea, and we're following two protagonists. The first one is living at her school, and she's attending her school, and She has a company, like a business company, that's called VNCK Beauty, and soon this boy arrives. He's a new student and he starts a business similar to theirs, and it's war. So stakes are high as Valerie and Wes try to outsell each other, make the most money and take the throne for their business, for the best business in school, all while trying to resist the undeniable spark that's crackling between them. So I think it will be an easy and a fast read, but the premise is lovely, and so I want to see where it goes. Changing tone, we are going to Madam by Phoebe Wynne, and it's a mystery historical adult thriller, and it just says a darkly feminist modern gothic tale pitched against a haunting backdrop and populated by an electrifying cast of heroines. This story is set at a boarding school, but we're following not a student but a new teacher who is 26 years old, and she gets there and she starts realizing slowly that there is something wrong in this place and that there is a mystery going around why, when and how her predecessor went away and sold the spot. The job was free for her to take, and it's just a mysterious situation where she needs to kind of find her way to solve the mystery and at the same time to fight against some of the things that that school is teaching young girls. So it seems unique and very, very fascinating as a concept. So I for sure will give it a try in the future. And the last one that I have here is a contemporary young adult romance. It's called Tokyo Ever After, and I love this title, and the description just says Crazy Rich Asians meets Princess Diaries, so I'm already sold here. In this one we're following Itzy, or Izumi, who is half Japanese and half American, and she lives her American life normally, except that she discovers that her father was not only Japanese, but he was the crown prince of Japan. And so the story starts there. So she's kind of literally a princess, and it really sounds like the Princess Diaries, and the nostalgia hits me, so I want to read this one. Apparently it's a standalone, so the Princess Diaries was this long-running series, and this is a standalone, so I hope that I will enjoy it. It will be easy and funny, so why not to give it a chance. And this was the last book that I had for this list. I hope that you've discovered some new titles, or that we share some titles about which we are excited. So let me know down below about those. And this is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you very, very soon in my next one. Bye! Ciao!